Hello, we're back again. Woo! This is our first segment of, I guess we're going to call it a dramatic reading or just a reading. A long time ago, I realized that I loved reading free ebooks on my Nook. And I think the reason I love it is because it's more raw. Nothing's very polished, nothing's very finished, and you get to see people really working through their ideas, and I love it. I think it's great, but also really funny, because not everyone's a great writer, but for all that people aren't great writers, they have really great ideas, and teen paranormal romance, or just paranormal romance, is like my thing. So, Karen and I have talked, and we decided that going back to the beginning, the first book that I ever read out loud should be the first that we officially put up for Storytime. So I'm going to read the first chapter of Secrets by Liz Schulte. I downloaded it for free off barnesandnoble.com on my Nook. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon or Kindle also. Support the author. Finish the book if you think it's funny or if you think it's good or whatever. Read the author. She's great. We read the whole series. We read the entire trilogy out loud. Loved it. And, so we're going to read the first chapter. Here we go. Secrets. And, this is a good basis also because all of my character voices came from this book. So in the future, when I refer to my Baker voice or my Juliet voice, you'll know because it's from this. Okay, chapter 1. Are you ready? We're ready. Oh man, and she starts off with a winner. Hypocrisy is the fuel of life. Oh, we'll just stop there. I think we're done.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm overcome with emotions.
All right, I'll read that whole sentence, actually.
Okay.
Actually, read the whole chapter.
Yeah.
No. All right, here we go. Hypocrisy is the fuel of life, I thought, as I watched my best friend Juliet execute her plan. She giggled coyly, brushing against a group of young men who seemed heartened by her attention.
The moon is so sad.
Hypocrisy is the fuel of life, I thought, as I watched my best friend Juliet execute her plan. She giggled coyly, brushing against a group of young men who seemed heartened by her attention. I sat at our table alone, marveling at her ability to con $15 drinks out of just about any man. Had it been any other woman in the bar, I would have been disdainful, watched with veiled disgust. But being my oldest and dearest friend, her actions were excused without much of a thought. Except that you're thinking about it, so whatever. Juliet could do nothing so bad that I couldn't find a way to dismiss it. Juliet pointed at me. I shook my head at her slightly, hoping to deter the inevitable. I didn't like being surrounded by men I didn't know, hated being the center of anyone's attention. Soon she was leading the group of men to our table. I like how they're still just the men. Yeah. Group of men. Like, they can't be identified by anything other than the fact that they are, in fact, male. Soon she was leading the group of men to our table, showing no regard for what I wanted. Typical. I sighed and rallied. It wasn't the way I would have chosen to spend my evening, but tonight was about cheering her up, not me. "Olivia!" Julia exclaimed in high-pitched joy, like she hadn't seen me in forever. She slid a drink in front of me and winked, knowing exactly what I was thinking. I shook my head and a laugh bubbled up. Harlot. That's cute.
She says that?
Yeah, harlot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like harlot. I would have gone with bitch, but harlot is cute. I mean,
yeah, no, it's very Shakespearean.
Very. She cocked an eyebrow innocently, but her grin widened. "What would you do without me?" I rolled my eyes, but we both knew what I meant it nicely. Juliet was the sister I never had. If I was yin, she was yang. It's yin, not ying. Oh.
She said,
Yeah, it's got a G.
Okay.
We were peanut butter and jelly, Thelma and Louise, without the Cliff, Laverne and Shirley, and so on and so forth. Best friends. I think you made that pretty clear. She was the one person I told everything. Olivia, this is John, Craig, Sean, and Dawn? Ron, not Dawn said. Right, Ron. This is my friend Olivia. I smiled congenially and made appropriate greeting sounds. None of these men were my taste, or Juliet's for that matter. But she was well beyond the point of caring. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out why I let her drag me here. I was past the point in my life in which meeting men in bars seemed like a good idea. It never seemed like a good idea to me, so... Well, anyway. Juliet didn't care how she met men, so long as she had one waiting in the wings at all times. Ron, not Don, settled in next to me. So, Olivia, what do you do for a living? I couldn't suppress my laugh at the predictable question, but kept my smile warm and inviting. This is how conversations happen, Livy.
Well,
just
yeah.
people ask you about yourself. Like what you do for a living.
Not really a fan of conversation, I'd say.
Knowing I was in for a long night. On nights like this, she would close the place down, and I had to stick around to make sure she was safe. Do you, though? I mean, yeah, I guess so, but, like, come on. If she's gonna be
control of the situation,
rude to you, do you really have to be nice to her? Oh, anyway. I glanced over at Jules, who was entertaining all of those around her, talking with her hands and laughing without reservation. She loved being the center of attention, and she shone under the spotlight. Can I just point out right now that so far, I mean, you know, we're first couple pages. So far, we have gotten only exposition about Juliet.
Yeah, and how much she likes attention.
And how she is in a bar, and Olivia's feelings about Juliet. The main character
Olivia,
so far has
Juliet.
Very little characterization other than herself compared to Juliet. Anyway, Juliet. She loved being the center of attention, and she shone under the spotlight. I wondered why Ron was talking to me. Poor guy. Had he drawn the short straw? I'm a photographer. You? I said, but maybe I waited too long to answer his question. He'd followed my earlier gaze and was staring at Juliet. It shouldn't have been easy to forget, because I saw her every day, but seeing the way others looked at her with awe always reminded me that Juliet was really pretty. Just really pretty. Her silky smooth, straight blonde hair seemed lit from within, her clear blue eyes sparkled with mischiefs, and a sunny smile radiated from her perfect pink lips. She looked like the girl next door, if you happened to live on television. I set my glass down with a clink, and Ron's attention drifted back to me. Good. After all, we were stuck on the same side of the table. I might as well make the best of it. When my eyes met his, he smiled and put a hand on my knee. I casually removed his hand. I'm sorry, what did you say you do? Oh, I'm in investments. His laugh ricocheted in my eardrums. It isn't as risky as you might think if you know what you're doing. He was too casual, too full of self-assigned importance. I prided myself on being an excellent judge of character, and so you're not full of self-assigned importance if you pride yourself on being an excellent judge of character? Anyway, so I rarely questioned my original assessments. Old Ron wasn't faring too well. He seemed shallow, conceited, and generic in the worst possible way. Cutting to the chase and past the smoke screens of someone's persona was sort of my gift. Not many people could surprise me. Foreshadowing! Ah. I forced a smile and a light tone to hide the fact that I really just wanted to go home. Awesome! Any good stock advice? Well, none that I could give you, he said with a wink. I had to bite my tongue to keep from voicing my immediate thought. What a jackass. Seriously, who winks? You're a photographer? He continued. What do you photograph? A little bit of everything. I have a studio and do some freelance for magazines. Sometimes the clients suck, but mostly it's fantastic. I'm lucky to be able to do something I love every day. He gave a hearty, fake laugh. Tell me about it. It's difficult to have to deal with clients. They never know what they want to do. No, some of them know exactly what they want. The trouble is convincing them that what they want isn't always best. He laughed again. Spare me, I thought. That's exactly right. Don't roll your eyes, don't roll your eyes. And, have you always lived in St. Louis? St. Louis? St. Louis, sorry. My bad. He kept blathering, unaware of the mental beating I was giving him for having a normal fucking conversation. You're talking to a drunk dude in a bar. Your standards are high, girl. Yeah, born and raised. You? Nah, I'm a transplant. I like to think of it as home, though. I forced another smile. I got that creepy salesman vibe from him. He wasn't ultra smooth or anything. It was more like selling something on an infomercial voice he had. Like his mundane conversation was setting me up for a sales pitch. St. Louis is great. It's one of my favorite places. He asked a few more questions, but soon enough I was able to steer the conversation back to him. He rambled on, leaving me free to let my mind wander as far away from him as it would take me. And what I want to know is, why is Juliet hanging out with this bum? I mean, I understand being friends with someone for life, but, like, seriously. If you had your choice of someone you want to take out to go drinking with men, and you know your best friend hates it, wouldn't you find someone else to go with? Because Olivia's seriously being a big spoilsport right now. I knew Juliet would disapprove of my tuning out, but I couldn't help it. I found maintaining conversations with strangers trying, and I'd accepted that I'd never really fit in anywhere. Main plot device for any paranormal romance / paranormal anything / any book ever. I didn't fit in. Oh, I'm different. Oh, everybody's different, okay? Sorry, I lost the page again. People always liked me, but never remembered to invite me. They recognized me, but they couldn't remember my name. I simply failed at making an impression. It's because you don't like talking to people. Is that why you don't fit in? I don't like people, and for some reason they seem to still want to interact with me. It's because other people tend to like people. Okay? Yeah. My tombstone would probably read, Olivia Martin, that girl you met that one time. This complete failure of people to notice anything about me always struck me as ironic, because I noticed everything about them. I loved people watching, so you're a creeper. Finding that moment when their true nature peeked through all the facades we feel the need to hide behind was exhilarating. No one is exactly what they seem upon first meeting them. My eyes searched out couple after couple in my own little game. I discerned their inner turmoil to the point I felt I knew them. Ron was still rambling something about his job in my ear, but he kept his hands to himself. I was certain he was attempting to impress me, but the effort was wasted. I wasn't impressed by money, power, or anything he was telling me. I was looking for something else, something I couldn't quite name. I wanted something life-altering. Oh my god. It's been a while since I've read this book, and it is true fashion. Thank you, Liz. I wanted something life-altering, something that demanded my attention and didn't let me go. I wanted something unexpected. 15 minutes before closing time, the hair on the back of my neck stood. So, I wanted something unexpected. Oh, looks like something unexpected's going to happen. Plotting. It felt like someone was staring holes into the back of my head. I took a quick glance around the crowded room, but no one appeared to be looking at me. I caught Juliet's eye. She seemed to be finally tiring of the tedious company, so I made a slight nod toward the door. She gave an affirmative tilt of her chin. Our silent conversation went unnoticed, and she started to politely excuse herself from whichever man she'd been talking with most intimately. Meanwhile, Ron moved uncomfortably close. It was definitely as good a time as any to extract myself from this situation. Hello, camera? Where?
Camera interlude.
Camera interlude. Hello.
Is it?
Oh, it's just malfunctioning.
Oh, cool.
Come on. Oh, there we go. Hello. Okay, we're
Just
going to
hit
pick
it.
up where
It'll
we
be
left
fine.
off. You're such a good listener. His breath was hot against my ear, making me cringe. I get that a lot. I leaned as far away from him as possible, but I think my friend and I are calling it a night. Thanks for the drinks, and if I never see you again, have a nice life. Nothing, if not polite. I extended my hand to him. You're leaving already? But we're just getting to know each other. He ignored my hand and instead touched a piece of hair that had fallen over my shoulder. I was like, whose hair falls over their shoulder? We have short hair. It's been a while.
Yes.
I had to repress the reflex to slap his hand, but I couldn't keep annoyance from my face. I really have to go. Can I have your phone number? I don't give out my phone number. I certainly had no intention of encouraging him further. Listening to him talk for a couple hours was bad enough, but a whole date? Ugh. What kind of girls go to a bar and then sit and talk the entire time to people they don't even like talking to and not to each other? This is a weird situation. He mumbled an expletive under his breath as he turned away, shaking his head as if I was unreasonable. My eyes shot daggers at the back of his head as he stalked off. I was just trying to be nice. I was sorry if he felt led on. Juliet came over, her face crinkling in amusement when she saw my expression. What do you do to get that look? Nothing. Boys get so irritable when you don't fall at their feet, and thank God you just met them. I shrugged and grinned, wasting no more time thinking about Ron, even though he's had your attention for the last 2 hours. Whatever. As quickly as the irritation appeared, I was over it. Well, who's the harlot now? It's still you. It's always you. She laughed and linked her arm through mine. Relief at finally being able to leave washed over me, but disappointment was quick in its wake. She was stopped by another friend of hers. I slipped my arm free. I'm gonna go wait outside. You okay? Yeah, I just need some air. But I'd lied. Now she nodded and turned to her other friend, who just appeared out of nowhere. Other friend! And as she nodded and turned to her other friend, I headed for the door with a singular focus. I didn't know what had come over me, but I had to get out. I still felt watched, and it was making my skin crawl. Call it God, Allah, a cosmic force, or destiny. Whatever it was, it felt like a warning. I couldn't breathe in there another moment. I needed space. I pushed my way out the door and directly into a person trying to walk in. The man was an immovable wall and nearly crushed me as I smashed into him and stumbled backwards. Sorry, I muttered, then squeezed past, not at all deterred. The cool night air hit my lungs at the same time a hand grabbed my arm. I jumped, startled, and my feeling of claustrophobia melted into extreme annoyance. I glared, and intense green eyes returned my stare. Even though it's nighttime and you're standing outside in the dark outside of a bar, you can tell he has intense green eyes. Drilling into me as if I was both offensive and intriguing. I said I was sorry. I pulled my arm from his grasp. My eyes, however, stayed locked to his. The man shook his head and took half a step towards me. I nearly turned and ran, but my stubborn feet wouldn't move, for as intimidating as he was, there was something that held me in place. Maybe it was the disproportional irritation on his face that I found fascinating. Maybe it was the flicker of life behind his cold, dead eyes that made him seem interesting, or maybe I had a concussion from running into him. Whatever it was, my body felt it warranted further investigation. One thing was for sure, I couldn't predict what this man was going to do, and that made my heart race in anticipation. The man sized me up, his gaze slowly traveling up and down my body. I thought about saying something snide, but aggression really isn't my thing. Instead, I returned the favor and inspected him in the same manner. His face was comprised of classic, traditionally handsome features. Of course it was. His straight Roman nose, full lips, sharp cheekbones, and a strong jaw. His hair was dark and short, and his body hard, almost militant. So he's perfect in every way. His eyes may have been a little close set. Oh yeah, that's it? That's all you can think of? And his legs slightly bowed. but they all seemed minor details. It was his intense, unrelenting expression that stood out. Oh, I remember this. When his eyes connected with mine once more, a slight smirk twitched on his stoic face and then vanished without a trace. It occurred to me that he might not be such a mystery after all. Arrogant smile, entirely too attractive, bored with the world. This guy wasn't worth my time. He'd never be happy with anyone who had more depth than a teaspoon. His graceful, calculating movements as he began to walk toward me reminded me, he's holding her arm.
Yeah.
How is he walking toward her?
His arms are very long. As she said, he's big. Yes?
Reminded me of a shark circling its prey. I braced myself for whatever he was planning to do, but he stopped. His eyes suddenly went icy and chills ran up my spine. A mask of boredom slipped over his face, and he turned to look over his shoulder. The man turned back to me and stared at my face as if memorizing it, then gave me a curt nod and walked into the building. I stared after him, frowning, long after the door shut. I didn't even notice when Jules joined me outside. "Are you ready, Livy?" I tried to remember how to form words, but I guess I wasn't fast enough because Juliet looked concerned. "Olivia, are you all right?" "Yeah." I was having problems focusing on her. "Did you see that man?" "No, but don't talk to me about men. I thought I'd never get away from Sean. And to think he appears perfectly normal. Who'd ever guess he was an octopus?" I forced my attention solely to Jules. "Yes, but do you feel better? That's the important thing." She considered for a moment, then smiled. "I guess I do. A bit. It's nice to know I'm still desirable." "Please, like you ever had a doubt." "True, but the confirmation is still nice." "Daily affirmations no longer working for you?" We walked down the street, laughing. Every so often I casually glanced behind me, trying to spot the mystery man again who walked into the bar and is not going anywhere, okay? But to no avail. Juliet's face soon began to fall, and I knew there could be only one reason. "Joe is an asshole, Jules." "No, he isn't. I think the problem was me, not him." It was unlike her to take the blame for, well, anything. "Why do you think that?" "I don't know. He was really nice, but I just wasn't into it. I kept pulling away. I don't blame him for leaving. I was unavailable." "That doesn't sound like you." "I know. It sounds like you. We've been around each other too long. You're starting to rub off on me." She gave a half-hearted shrug, then forced a smile. "Oh, well, there's always the next one." "Absolutely. Until there isn't." I wasn't letting her slide off the hook that easy. "Until there isn't," she echoed glumly, only to remound a moment later. "Who needs men to stay around? We have each other." "Lesbian sex!" Probably not. "I don't know. You're sort of a loser." I gave her a toothy, eyes-closed grin that always made her laugh. "Seriously, though, he wasn't right for you. You could do so much better than him." "Hey, so what was up with that guy you were talking about?" "I don't know how I could have missed him. You seem shaken." "Not stirred?" I joked to buy time. Just mentioning him made my heart thump wildly. "You ran into him outside of a bar. It's not like you even had a conversation. He said nothing to you."
He stared at her with intense green, cold, dead eyes.
"We're connected now." "Your deflection doesn't work with me, Liv. I know all of your tricks of avoidance." "I don't know. He was gorgeous for sure, but there was something I can't describe. We made eye contact. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack when he was gone. He seemed... I don't know." "Love at first sight?" "More like an arrhythmia. How long have you known me? When have I ever believed in that nonsense?" Jules shook her head with an expression that clearly said, "What on earth am I going to do with you?" "I don't know what it was," I continued. "Maybe I drank too much tonight. But whatever. Undoubtedly, he is either stupid, an asshole, or completely fake. Men like that are rarely anything else." Juliet made a face, but I was on a roll. "I'm not going to start deluding myself about people. Most people that perfect are devoid of personality. It's God's way of evening the playing field. It's not my fault. I don't make the rules. It's natural order." "You're so full of shit. What it must be like to be in your mind for only a moment. Have you looked in the mirror lately? You're hardly a plain Jane, and you're not devoid of personality. If anything, you have too much, carefully hidden under many layers of sarcasm, fake smiles, and feelings of superiority. I don't even know why we are discussing this. I was nowhere near his league. They wouldn't even let me in the stadium. As for my mind, it lives in reality. You should come visit sometime. I grinned, but suddenly almost desperately wanted to change the subject. I felt possessive of the memory of the man. For right now, he was just mine, and I wanted it to stay that way, even though I knew I'd never see him again, and that really, it was for the best. We walked by an alley we'd gone past at least 100 times before. That had never bothered me. Tonight, however, it seemed like something was staring at us from deep in the shadows that was untouched by the feeble light that hung over a restaurant's kitchen door. Fear knotting in my chest and stomach fluttering, I stopped to see what was making me feel like that. I even took a step in the direction of the alley before Juliet's voice brought me back. What are you doing? Something's watching us. She peered down the alley, squinting. Oh, yeah, so we're just going to walk toward it. That's smart. That's what we should do in this situation.
Something's watching from the alley. Let's check it out.
I don't see anything, but I'm officially freaked out. Come on, get a life, perv. She yelled into the darkness, then pulled me at least the last 20 feet to our building. Stairs or elevator? Juliet's eyes flicked from me to the door. I looked down at my unforgiving knee-high black leather boots with a thin 3-inch heel. Elevator. Interesting that that's the one article of clothing that we know that she's wearing. Hooker boots. Juliet and I had been roommates since college, but once 2 apartments became available next to each other, we took them. That way we're still close, but also had our own space. I decorated my apartment all in white and mahogany to make a peaceful haven in my sometimes hectic life. The walls were covered with photographs, some taken by me, others by photographers I admired. I always kept fresh white flowers on the sofa table, preferring lilies to anything else. The world could be as crazy as it wanted to be, and I had a sanctuary. I opened the window in my bedroom and snuggled underneath the white down comforter in my soft bed, giving no thoughts to strange, handsome men or things that lurked in alleys. Ta-da! Yeah, so that was chapter 1 of Secrets by Liz Schulte. Who knows? We might keep up with it, might not. It's quite amusing if you keep going. I don't know if you're intrigued yet.
Story.
The cool thing that Liz does is she alternates. So the next chapter is The Mysterious Man. Maybe we'll do that sometime.
Yeah.
But until then, yeah. Blurcast presents Storytime. We're out of here. Good night.
Night.